She began a career in public relations management 19 years ago and has been responsible for various roles in marketing, communications across industries such as banking, fintech, yes, insurance, health, hospitality, energy, and retail. As a lifelong learner, she also holds certifications in arbitrations, corporate governance, trainings, and project management from the Chartered Institute of Arbitration, Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria, IADT, and Ezelos UK, respectively. Currently, she serves as the membership coordinator of the Customer Experience Professional Association Nigeria Network. She also founded the stakeholder experience consultancy called CEM Professional Services, aimed at creating awareness on the importance of customer service and experience. It offers consultancy, coaching, and project management services to help organizations and sectors improve their customer and stakeholder experience to drive business growth. Additionally, it provides resources to mentors, develop and support professionals in the customer service and experience field. She also currently volunteers with the Edo Specialist Hospital, a government healthcare institution, as a patient experience advisor. Her legal background also comes to play as a customer protection advocate who strongly believes that building a thriving economy requires everyone to play their part in the commercial ecosystem. So, from this profile, we can see that Barrister Cynthia is a professional in this field, and she is a right person fit for this topic, building resilience and emotional intelligence in leadership because of her skill in people management, emotional intelligence, and project management. So, thank you so much, Barrister. You can take the floor now.
Thank you so much, Esther. You can hear me, and I don't sound cracky. I don't sound muffled. Just let me know if you can hear me. I'm so glad to be able to do this with you. It's been a while since I've taken up a online speaking engagement. I've been under immense work doing other projects. So I'm happy to be having this conversation as my re-debut into online speaking.
Yeah.
I love the topic, building resilience and emotional intelligence in leadership.
Yes.
Driving growth actually rests on leadership. Leadership is where, if you would ask me and anyone who cares to answer, where everything rests and falls. It rises and falls on leadership. Growth in the family, growth in society, growth in our country, in our nation, and of course, globally, and so we'll start. So the conversation around leadership, I really want to go a different route. I don't want to talk about leadership in the context of titles and positions. I would rather talk about leadership in the context of productivity and impact. Because the truth is, when we all hear leaders or we hear about leadership, the first thing we think about is boss, CEO, MD, head of. We are first drawn to the title than we are to what leadership is seeking to achieve. If you understand what I mean, we're drawn to what perks and privileges come with leadership. But the most important part of leadership is the ability to make an impact. And I think we need to be really clear on how this conversation would go, because it's one thing to build resilience and emotional intelligence in leadership for the title, and another thing to build the resilience and emotional intelligence in leadership for the impact. So we're going to be looking at impact, right? I just wanted to clear that and set the stage. Okay, so what's leadership? We all hear leaders, leadership, leading. We hear these words thrown around, and it's becoming a buzzword. It's becoming a fad. Everybody wants to say they have leadership capabilities. Leadership is basically the ability of anyone to harness human and natural resources to produce value. And I use these words in this definition very carefully, because it's critical that we understand that it's an ability. It is a harnessing. It involves human and natural factors, elements, components, and it also must produce value, right? It must produce value. If you've ever gone into any management course, and please ask questions if you may and if you want to at the end of this conversation. In management, we have the M's, the key factors of production, and it's man, money, machines, markets, right? And of course, methods. They've included methods, which are systems. So we call them the 5 M's. I mean, there are different ways of defining what management is, but you would also be very careful to note that the most important factor of production is man, because man makes every other thing happen. So as a leader, remember the definition, harnessing human and natural. As a leader, you must know how to manage the most important factor of production to create value, and that is man, and that is the people, and that is the humans, the human capital that you would work with to deliver that value. I remember growing up, and I would really love to give some personal experiences so that it's more relatable. Growing up, especially where we were like teenagers in secondary school, it wasn't really a big deal to be leaders. I would call myself one who came into myself a bit later, right? As regards leadership, I wasn't really necessarily getting or taking up any leadership roles. So I considered myself not leadership material, because I didn't have any titles. I wasn't head girl. I wasn't class prefect. I wasn't, house prefect. So I just said to myself, I'm not leadership material. So I liked to just, chart my own course. But I did a lot of things, which now that I look back, I could identify leadership traits and leadership material. So you see how, especially for the young ones among us listening now, we can always and almost confuse ourselves about the importance of the title and the actual delivery of impact. I now found out that I actually was a leader. I was generating after class lessons, after school lessons. I was organizing after school classes for my co-classmates, my peers, on topics, on courses that were tougher for them. And we had this trade by barter where one teaches one subject that was tough. I was a social sciences aspirant. I was going into law. So of course I had the math, the general math issue, so we would say, okay, you know what? I don't understand this thing in math. Teach me this and I'll teach you government, or I'll teach you literature. Those were leadership potential. So it's important to understand that leadership is about delivery of impact rather than about titles. I need to set that context so that everyone knows we have leadership traits in all of us, right? So now that we set the stage, what is the leader really focused on aside from delivering impact? How does the leader make impacts for productivity? Various means. Vision. Every time you hear about leadership, you would hear about vision and direction. How to articulate a clear vision for the future, provide direction on how to achieve it, and set goals. Make sure in order of priority, there is a clear roadmap for success. Communication, how to communicate, articulate what it is that is the vision, because it's one thing to have a vision and another to communicate it. And I struggle with organizational management, of course, in my field, causes me to struggle with the challenge of how to get followers, employees to follow a vision that the leader has set. And it rises and falls on communication. It rises and falls on relationship and trust. We'll go into that as we talk about, emotional intelligence. Then inspiration and motivation. Leaders are set to always inspire. Across, various markets, economies, everyone is frustrated. Everyone is challenged by one limitation or another. And you need to be able to drive people. Yes, people are supposed to have, innate motivation, but there is the place of the leader to do more than just allow for self-motivation. There has to be a team, a group, and a corporate motivation. Leaders are also very good at empowering. And that's another thing I learned over time. Initially, when we all start, you can, so there is, and I'm going to explain that eventually. There are so many traits and skills that are almost innate, but not necessarily so. Leadership is one of them. You can assume that some people are born leaders. Like I said, when I was in school, I just felt like there were some classmates that were just leadership material. They looked the part, they seemed the part, they seem to have been born with it. But the truth is, we all grow, we all train, we all learn to be leaders. So even those that are innately leaders have to sort of, should I say, shine a little more light on those weak points of leadership, because one or two of these various elements may be lacking even in an innate leader. So you find yourself needing to delegate. In my leadership journey, I used to want to do everything until I learned you can't do everything. You need people. You are not an island. Everyone needs people. And there are so many examples of how important relationships help to allow you delegate work, to create value, to get to where you need to get to faster. There's a saying, if you want to go somewhere and you want to go faster, you go together, right? They say teamwork makes the dream work. So you need a team to get the dream going. So leaders need to learn how to empower for there to be value. Decision making, of course, there would always be that opportunity for a leader to make a marring or breaking decision that will drive value. For any team, for any organization, for an institution, there would always be that time when the floodlights are on you as a leader to make the decision, and everyone under you, everyone working with you will be waiting for you to press that button, for you to send that email, for you to give that, assent to whatever it is that needs to happen to get things going and to deliver value. Relationship building, that is so critical. And as we go into emotional intelligence, you're going to understand why relationship building is so inimical to driving men, to managing teams, to creating productivity through human resources. You have to learn how to build authentic relationships. Some people get away with false relationships, but it doesn't last too long because eventually you get found out. And it's always such a downer. It's always such a disappointment when trust is broken. And trust broken is really never easy to get back. And it borders so much on integrity. So you can see how the relationship building aspect of leadership is intertwined with the work and the expectation of a leader. And of course, continuous learning and growth. Like I said, we all may not be born leaders, but even the leaders who, or even those who seem like we're born with it, have to still nurture, grow, fine-tune, and just sharpen that skill of personal and professional development, right? And as we talk about building resilience, what is it to actually build that resilience, really? It's such that the world is volatile. We live in a volatile world. Things come at us, spontaneous expectations are thrown at us day in, day out, and it's critical that we understand how to bounce back from tough scenarios, or should I say, tough circumstances. So resilience is just basically the capacity of you as a leader to withstand and bounce back from any adversity, any setback, any challenges. And we'll have them in your course of delivering value, because you're delivering value to people who could change their needs, who could have a change of preferences. I'm sure you've heard of the Maslow's law of needs, or you could even be manipulating resources which could dry out, which could be limited. You could be working with people who are unpredictable. So resilience would always come at you as a leader. And you have to learn how to be able to withstand and bounce back from any setbacks, from all these different elements I've just mentioned. Right? So it is you having optimism and determination in the face of obstacles. Resilient leaders normally would have the ability to adapt to change, to learn from their failures, and emerge stronger from difficult situations. And of course, the most important is guiding their teams through turbulent times and situations, right? Now, we're going to be looking at emotional intelligence. And the question is, what is emotional intelligence? Is it just another new fad that we've put on the table, just like leadership, right? What's the new word now? Or empathy. You know, these words keep getting thrown around from time to time. But emotional intelligence basically is the ability of a person to recognize, understand, and manage one's emotions and the emotions of others in a way to deliver value. And emotional intelligence is so critical in driving resilience because, like we explained about how turbulent resilience can be, you need the management of emotions, you need the management of your reactions to be able to navigate how terribly these setbacks can be, and to be able to show how resilient you are to these setbacks. So there are three characteristics resilient leaders possess. One is that they accept harsh realities. They are realists. Yeah, they are realists. They know that this has happened. What do we do? Let's come to the table. We have to make a decision. There's brainstorming around what the issues are realistically. Then they find meaning. There is always the positive out of a challenging situation. So aside from being all doom and gloom, a resilient leader is ready to say, whoa, this has happened. Okay, there's a reason for this. Guys, this is the reality on ground. This is how we have to look at this issue. Then, the third characteristic, a unique ability to improvise, make do with whatever they're faced with, and provide solutions. There's another buzzword, solution provider. Everyone wants to be a solution provider, but you have to provide solutions that would not just set you back, but would help you, assist you in delivering value. So those three characteristics are well harnessed and well displayed via emotional intelligence. So a leader who has emotional intelligence, which is the ability to manage their emotions and the emotions of every other team member, person around them, is very, should I say, very well equipped with these three characteristics. I said ability to stay cool and be realistic, the ability to find a positive in the negative situation, and the ability to find solutions. Now, what's emotional intelligence aside from the definition? Like, you know, when you give a definition, somebody asks you, explain it to me like a 5-year-old. Emotional intelligence is those elements within a person that keeps them conscious of who they are and how they work, how they interact, and how they relate with people around them. And there are 5 critical components or elements that help in that help you to know, oh, this is how I interact, and this is what people think about me, and this is how I think about, you know, my relationship with people. And I would explain them in a bit. One is self-awareness. Self-awareness is the first component of emotional intelligence. It is the ability to know your strengths, to know your weaknesses, to understand how those strengths and weaknesses come, especially where there is tension, where you foresee challenges, and how to know that is your level of confidence, your ability to manage humor, self-humor on yourself. So your weaknesses do not depress you. Your weaknesses to you are opportunities to learn and opportunities to show, hey, I'm human. Everyone loves a human-faced leader. So it's always critical for you as a leader to be able to own your weaknesses, be humorous about them, and to attract criticism. Because if you feel like you are always perfect, you're going to have issues getting people to criticize you, basically. So you have to know how to smartly ward off negativity, how to smartly accept feedback. And we talked about communication under elements of, or should I say, important factors leaders need to be able to drive productivity. And without self-awareness, that is difficult. Then there's self-regulation. Self-regulation is the ability to temper your emotions, to have self-control. That person that goes eruptive for no just cause, or eruptive because, something offensive has just occurred. And it happens a lot in the business world. A client just reneged on a contract, a colleague is not pulling their weight, maybe a boss who is totally, unreasonable, is expecting too much of you. The ability to be able to say, okay, this is a business situation, it's a professional environment. I cannot be who I should be. I say that because, especially in this part of the world, you have people who would say things like, that's how I was born. I say it as it is. It's my face and all of that. Remember, as I was introduced, I'm passionate about customer experiences, and it is critical that you are very self-regulated in customer service delivery environments. So you cannot just be who you want to be, how you were born in front of customers, internal or external. Internal customers are your co-colleagues, that is your co-employees, your peers at work, or anyone within your working environment. So you have to know how to self-regulate. So when I go to environments or I go to institutions where the culture is they can speak anyhow to each other in front of the customer or even to the customer, there is such a lack of emotional intelligence within the culture of that environment, and it's obvious. So you need to know how to redirect your emotions. You are a call center employee and you receive calls and you're getting a very angry customer on the phone. You don't lash back. You have to self-regulate. So that's how to drive productivity. You realize that the more you manage experiences and scenarios with a high sense of emotional intelligence, you come out looking good, you come out having stronger relationships, and you come out delivering better value. Especially when it comes to self-regulation, it just creates a sense of trustworthiness. So a hallmark of that is integrity. Most times when you want to explore the option of an outburst, you can just think of, maybe I should just calm down and explore other solutions. Maybe she's angry for this reason. Maybe my boss is unreasonable because he has somebody higher up there trying, to get the best out of him. So he's trying to get the best out of me. Now, I use this because, like I said before, leadership is not in titles. Even the lowest in the office, even the first level employee is a leader. So I'm not looking at the MDs and the CEOs alone. I'm saying even I, as a middle level employee, is a leader to, everyone around me, because I am to deliver value for a common purpose, right? So that's the second component, self-awareness. The third component is empathy. Empathy. Empathy is the ability to understand what people are feeling, how another one feels, sense what another one is feeling, feel what another one is feeling. So there's cognitive empathy, there is sensitive empathy. You have to be able to, so people say put yourself in other people's shoes. Sometimes the shoes are too big. Just get yourself to the point where you understand that if it were me, how would I feel? I think that's an easier way to just define and advocate for empathy. So empathy is consideration for other people's feelings generally, whether you are understanding it, you are sensing it, or you're feeling it. And it's a component of emotional intelligence. How can you empathize with people, right, to help drive value, either if they work under you or you work together, or they are just a component of a particular project to deliver value as regards management. So empathy allows for inclusivity, because as an empath, you want everyone to feel a sense of inclusion. You want everyone to feel as respected as you would feel. You want everyone to be open and psychologically safe to speak their mind and to also give their best. There's a book I've read and I always love to recommend. It's called My Vision. It's a book by the Crown Prince of Dubai. And I know many Nigerians love Dubai, and I think around the world we just are in awe of how much they've progressed. And in one of his chapters, he talks about minding the mind. Minding the mind is basically how they work on the mindset of the youth to deliver value for Dubai, and it talks about how they have to shelve their old mindsets and understand how young people think to get them to deliver value, to be innovative, to contribute, to feel like a part of the process and a part of the vision. And that's how leadership is. You have to learn how to sense people's emotions, their feelings, and every other thing that requires them to give their best. That's empathy. The fourth component is social skills. Social skills in emotional intelligence is an ability to manage your relationships so that it moves to a particular direction. Trust is all about relationships. I can't trust you if I don't have a relationship with you. I can't have a relationship with you if I don't communicate properly to you. So you find out that a lot of breakdown in relationships stems from breakdown in communication. And a lot of breakdown in trust stems from breakdown in relationships. So I stopped trusting you because something happened to the relationship. It broke down. And once that happens, you now trace back to what the real cause was. I like to call it the 5 whys. Why did he stop trusting me? Why did they stop trusting us? Something happened in the relationship. Why did something happen in the relationship? Communication went bad. Why did the communication go bad? I couldn't understand what he wanted, how he felt, how he would have felt. You find out that the lack of social skills sort of manipulates relationships, most times for the worse rather than for the better. So it's critical that a leader that needs to build resilience in emotional intelligence has to have social skills. And with social skills, because there is trust, you can drive change. So in an organization or in a team where you want to, start up a new innovation, the world is going innovation crazy. Even an 80-year-old man or woman has a phone on which they get updates every other day. So even they are drawn into the innovation drive of ensuring that you are upgrading. So you can't avoid innovation. And in innovation, you need a change program. You need to learn how to drive people towards change. So I come up with my phone and I see that, WhatsApp now has what? Channels. Why do I need channels? It takes someone with social skills to drive that kind of mindset and drive that kind of project initiative within an organization to say, you know what, let's tweak our app a little bit more. We think customers will like it. Because the first people that would resist a new change is your customer. It's your internal customer, who is your employee or your colleague. So you need to have social skills to be able to drive initiatives within the organization before you even launch it out to the outside world and to customers, right? So in a team, it is critical that you have those social skills. You have goodwill you can cash. You have a trust factor, you have some sort of trust bucket that you can always, lean into and say, you know what, trust me on this whole, let's go, and it's going to be the best for the organization or for the team. You have to have persuasive skills. You also need to understand how to drive people, to drive different initiatives. And the final component of emotional intelligence is motivation. We talked about motivation being one of the critical characteristics of a leader, being able to inspire and motivate people. It coincides with emotional intelligence because you have to learn how to motivate people. You have to drive people towards an achievement of something, which is like having optimism in the face of, harsh realities, in the face of despair. I know how many times I would work with some of my teams when I used to work in the private sector, and sometimes it was always so demotivating. Something is not going well in the organization, and it's the leader who is the first level of support that needs to say, you know what, management has the best interest, your best interest at heart. So it's also important to be able to push your team that is trying to get demotivated. And you see, when you harness these different traits in emotional intelligence, what do you get? You get improved relationships, you get better value, you are able to quell and mediate disputes, you're able to drive efficient teams. It's also really critical that we use emotional intelligence in different aspects of our lives. As a professional, in your office, in your organization, it is required at every point, even in the small domestic family circle. But let's even look at the professional space. When you're sending emails, how does it sound? You have to be able to infuse all these things we mentioned in that email. Your self-awareness, your self-regulation, your social skills, your empathy, your motivation. Meetings. I don't like meetings. And I say to everyone who cares to know, I just want things to get done. But if you have to drive meetings, which I'm sure a lot of people like to avoid, you have to manage with emotional intelligence. What are you saying? Are you reading the room? Are people really ready to stay for 4 hours or 2 hours in this meeting? How would it sound if we had just done it virtually? Those things as a leader help you to build resilience in your teams. Giving feedback. You will work with people who are high up there and low. You have to learn how to balance your team. There will be the leaders, there will be the laggards. You have to know how to give feedback to both sides of the divide, because it's not just tough feedback that is a bit tricky. Even giving patronizing feedback, or should I say commendation focused feedback, require some tact, so that you are giving the feedback to boost, but also to be able to drive motivation and not create a false sense of overconfidence. Making smart decisions, like we said before, there are many decisions that a leader will make that is critical for the organization. And of course, just the general management of difficult employees, colleagues, or subordinates, or even supervisors over you, require a sense of all these various components that we spoke about. Now, one would always say that in driving emotional intelligence, there's something we must learn, and that is delivering an environment rife with psychological safety, which is the ability for everyone around you to be able to express themselves, be candid, be innovative, and to always give their best. The question is, would you refrain from emotional intelligence or empathy if you see that this is being abused? I get asked that question a lot. In fact, somebody said, people weaponize this emotional intelligence and empathy thing. The first thing I'll let you know is empathy and emotional intelligence are not one and the same. Just like having self-confidence is not emotional intelligence in itself, or being a very great person with an innovative mindset, or overly empathetic. It may be a component, but it's not emotional intelligence end to end. So would you say that people that weaponize your empathy do not deserve that you give them emotional intelligence? My answer is no. Just like leadership, and I round up now, just like leadership, emotional intelligence can be learned. So you know how to balance and create a harmony between being too, empathetic and being assertive. So I hope that I've helped a little bit to clarify what emotional intelligence is, and I'm good for your questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that amazing session. It's knowledge packed, value packed. Okay, I have a question. Let's say two questions. Two questions. Earlier, you were talking about having empathy at work, wherever you are, even in relationships. So I want to know, being empathetic is all about putting yourself in people's shoes, right? Even if even if sometimes the shoe size is bigger than hers. So I want to know, how often should we ask our coworker if they need help? Let's say they have something delegated to them, they have a task delegated to them to do, and we also have tasks delegated to us. You see some of them lagging behind in their tasks, maybe because of family problem, marriage, or those personal issues that affect them at work. So how often should we ask them? And some of them, perhaps they are being lazy, just being lazy. So how often should we ask our colleague at work? How often should we ask them if they need help? And secondly, how do you deal with a boss that does not see the good in you? You try your best to put up the best image, you do everything to give him results. In fact, when you prepare that particular circular and give it to somebody else, the person would praise you, but that particular boss sees no good in what you do. How do you respond to criticism from that person? Should you go up front and tell the person, hey, I don't like how you treat me? Or to be waiting for sack letter? So how do you respond to criticism at work, especially if that person is a senior colleague?
All right, thank you very much. So the first question is how to manage people without being taken for granted, right? So helping people who have issues, you need to balance it. You need to be assertive. A leader should know when to put in and when to bring out. As a leader, I don't think so. Just like the adage that says, rather than give a man fish, teach him to fish. I don't think that the solution will be to going around and saying, who needs help? Who needs help? How can I help you? I think what you need to understand is why they are in that situation. Are they in the situation because they were negligent, they were distracted, they were unfocused? Or did this just happen because, like you even said, oh, maybe they just had a bad day and things are not working out for them and they need that one help? I think your ability, so emotional intelligence is ability to see understand your emotions and other people's emotions. So there is the honing of that emotional intelligence skill, EI, we call it, to understand where people are genuine about what their issues are, right? And that will determine how you make such a decision. I would not say that you shouldn't help people. I help people if I see that they're overwhelmed. Genuinely, I will help, but I wouldn't want to sort of encourage laziness. Neither would I want to create a fallback, make me a fallback plan, you know, for everyone, every co-worker in the office that just wants to chill and, far around. So I think that's how to manage it. Who is this person? How have they been over time? What have their antecedents been? Are they one to always deliver, or are they want to always have this problem? So if they're always having this problem, then they are suspects. There is a suspicion that they do it to want to be in the situation, and that would really help you decide how to help. But yes, always extend a hand, because you never know who is having a bad day at work or at home. And that's that. So for the second one, for bosses that never see the good in you, for difficult bosses, for difficult individuals, emotional intelligence is very critical for these kind of people. And this is where you have to self-regulate. You have to tell yourself, somehow, someday, either what I'm learning here will be used somewhere else. Remember, I said the three characteristics of the leader, of a resilient leader, is being cool, knowing that this is my reality. I don't have a job. I don't have a father who has another conglomerate for me. I have to be here. But also knowing that I can see the positivity. I'm learning something in this process for when I become a leader. But for you to be able to sort of secure yourself, you must also make communication open. You have to ensure that everything with your boss is written down, is formalized. It cannot, so that nothing is used against you, neither are you using anything against him. There will be times, if it's a good organization with a good culture, there should be some form of covering for employees who are undergoing such sort of victimization by supervisors. So keep your evidence per se. Don't have conversations where you are put in a box. I want to believe you are the emotionally intelligent one for having this webinar. So you need to use that and harness that for your good. There will be passive aggression. There will be she said, he said against you, but you need to always have data. So make sure that everything is formalized, and make sure that at least people understand that you have the best intentions, but this is how you are being viewed by your supervisor. And when you have an opportunity to work with somebody else, make sure you show yourself, so that there would always be conflicting feedback about this person that the supervisor has always complained about, right?
Yes. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the answers. Thank you so much. Okay, we are almost done with the timing. We're supposed to finish this by 7 p.m. So it's 1 hour. Coach Cynthia, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I think you should go for, what is it called? What should we call this public speaking marathon? Is it can you give me the name? Just the way we have what do they call it? Tunde just finished the, is it
Okay, Guinness World Records.
Yes, just when we have the speakathon. So should we have the speakathon or something? Because we're speaking for 1 hour, 1 hour without breaking. Thank you. Looking forward to hosting you some other time in the future.
My pleasure. Thank you so much. The opportunity is not taken for granted. Thank you
Yeah.
to Till
Do
Academy.
Do
Thank
you
you to
have
the
an afterword? Do you have an afterword for the audience, especially youths, when it comes to emotional intelligence, the Gen Z generation, and workplace interaction?
yes. So my parting words are: be very intentional about your growth. Be very intentional about relationships. Goodwill
Yeah.
is so much more valuable than um, current financial empowerment. You need
Yes.
to have goodwill because you don't use it when you are as viable. You use it when you are weak and you are older, and you do need to cash in goodwill where money cannot come to your rescue. So we need to be
Mm,
very deliberate about emotional intelligence. We get a lot of I don't care, it's just a job, it's not my dad's job, but we need to be
mm.
very deliberate no matter the generation. Gen X, millennials, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, let us all be empathetic to everyone's plight and be emotionally intelligent. Thank you.
Thank you so much. If there is anything I'm going with tonight, is that emotional intelligence is a currency and we need it every time. We need it everywhere. It's something that we have to, it's an intelligent quotient that we all have to express regardless of our generation. Thank you so much, Coach Cynthia. We celebrate you. Thank you for this session. All right.
Okay, bye.
Bye.